So hello, let me make sure you're turned on. There we go.
Excellent.
Chris, how are you doing?
I am doing very good.
So apparently you're very good at breaking eternal deck formats.
I very much enjoy the deck building aspect of the game, and so the large open card pool lets me screw around with silly stuff.
So last year you won the big deck event.
I did.
And you consequently got that stronghold, the governor's estate, banned.
Yes, they banned all the draft strongholds preemptively to stop me actually from breaking the rest of them.
I can understand why. And this year you brought a foothold to the Mad deck.
Yes.
We saw kind of what it could do in Emperor. For those people who weren't around, that box was pretty brutal toward the end of Emperor. So it was very strong about being able to accelerate its gold and then drop huge bodies on the table. And looks like you and John Tong both were doing a very similar strategy on that.
We were doing very similar strategy. My deck is basically just a modern-sized version of the deck that ran in Empire. So it uses the fact that the gold's free, it uses ways to get extra holdings. During some of my matches, I dropped 6 2-gold-producing holdings on turn 1. And then giant Oni that you can't respond to, and resilience actions.
Yep.
Tom's deck was a little different. He actually played a little more aggressively than me, which is sort of silly by comparison, but he ran a few smaller people, a lot of attachments, some extra card draw. Very little resilience actions, more removal. We were discussing it and sort of chalk it up to different regions that we play in, because I'm a Midwest player and he's a West Coast player, and the West Coast folks like to hit people in the head with things.
Yeah, that's very true, and they're usually very good at it, I might add. So I assume you're running a huge glut of holdings. In this format, both of your Fate and Dynasty decks have to be 50 cards.
Correct.
So I'm assuming you're having to use at least, what, about 40 or 50% of your deck holdings?
Much more than that.
Okay.
In my 50-card deck, I run 15 personalities, one event that I would probably cut if I was revising this at this point, and one Celestial, and the balance of the deck is holdings.
Okay. Well, that makes sense because the one Celestial is the Wrath of Qalyar, which has been brutal all weekend in the modern event, both in the Foothold of the Mad deck and in the, I've actually seen it in the Mon's Grave, just tear up things.
It's fair, kind of.
Yeah, sure, why not? I'll do that.
If you have the goal for it, it's not quite so fair.
Yeah. It actually let me recover in the final game there.
Yeah.
I had a very poor start, but I got Minting House, which is a gold multiplier for the millions of holdings I produce.
Yep.
And that was able to let me drop Bazaru and Pseudo off of Qalyar.
Thank you, Vanna.
Before there's any legitimate reason to do that.
Yeah. When we were looking at that scenario, when you popped it, I was like, okay, you're trying to this is your turn to build a defense where you can stop him and be able to swing back and start evening the game.
Correct. And especially because of the way I play, the tendency was to go. I could have grabbed smaller people, rushed, taken some provinces. But because I knew I had the only dodge in my hand, and because of the way that the deck's action speeds amongst the people, I thought it was much more advantageous to get 2 units and make it so that I was a much harder target to attack into while
I haven't got to spend.
Considering the way John had his deck built versus the way you had your deck built, obviously you know your own deck, so that made the most sense. You didn't know exactly what John had. You had a couple of games against him, and that was pretty about it. You didn't play in the Swiss rounds?
We played in the Swiss rounds.
Okay, so you did say that.
He brutally defiled me in the last round of Swiss, but that actually was a huge advantage coming in here that I had played him already, so I could see the differences in the deck engine and knew what to expect.
Well, so have you thought about what kind of ideas you want for your story choice yet?
Kind of. Obviously, I won this with a really non-standard deck, and I want to try and come up with a pick that respects the shenanigans. I know there's been some efforts in the community to have, if some sort of Shadowlands deck won this, to have the messenger or the prophecy eaten by monsters or something like that. And I don't really think I want to go that way. I'd like to have it where the prophecy is given to somebody, but since I'm playing out of the Madness Stronghold and running a lot of Madness mixed up with manipulation and giant monsters. Maybe not somebody who's super trustworthy, so that there's a question about the quality of the information that you convey.
Well, yeah, and that's a that's a great idea, considering the theme and everything, and obviously with currently in the 20 festival strategy, there is the Bitterlight Kensais, who aren't exactly standard Scorpion people.
Right, yeah, exactly. And I think from a because I do the role playing game also, and so I like the storyline to make some sense.
Right.
And I think from a storyline perspective, things like prophecies to prevent the Duke of Rokugan are more interesting if there's more confusion about what's going on and what the prophecy is really doing, as opposed to just here's your roadmap for Onyx.
I like that kind of idea. That's when there's more confusion, there's more tension.
Yeah, exactly, and I think it makes more compelling storytelling.
Yep. So do you think that Wrath is too powerful in this format, or do you think it's more of an issue of foothold?
I'm of two minds about this, because Wrath is an incredibly destructive card, and it's destructive out of decks other than this one.
Yeah.
It's really, really silly out of here, because I Wrathed on an opponent with 40 or 45 gold on an earlier round, and I don't think there's anything in the format that answers that. But lots of people all day long are getting losses to Wrath out of Maw also. So, I mean, obviously, Wrath is problematic when it was printed. It was eroded so that you couldn't make Infinite Goblins because that was really silly. And then they decided that it was still broken and just banned it anyway. Whether or not the foothold deck is broken, I think comes down to whether or not you want to trust there to be a metagame decision. The deck is very, very easy for some decks to beat if it prepares for it. Temple of Purity honor decks are almost certainly my worst possible matchup. The deck, Foothold is a blitz deck, just like any other blitz deck, except instead of making 2 or 3 gold guys, I'm making 7 or 10 or 12 gold, force guys. But Temple of Purity, I can't take their provinces with most of my guys. They run the take and kill stuff, but they don't have to take me because I'm Shadowlands. Asako Keitoko is game over. Because Gazara's not very good when he's 3 force.
No.
But on the other hand, if it turns out that only a small section of the environment can respond to the deck appropriately, that's sort of the definition of what needs banning. There's a lot of stuff that breaks the deck. Footsteps of Madness is Time Walk against the deck, and that's pretty much game loss under most conditions. There's some other options, but it does constrain the available deck space. The same can be said for things like Western Steps and the Turbo Honor decks, which I think become the best decks if you ban this. So I don't know. I know that there hasn't been a lot of testing in Modern, generally speaking. There have been a lot of Modern events. There have been some online. They were all won by Honor decks.
Yeah. Which is kind of strange considering the power, you've seen the sort of the power that this deck has. If you played during Emperor and played during that, let's put, 4, 5, 6 holdings into play on the same turn. Of course, you couldn't do that in Emperor, but you started with 1 holding, so you already had 1. You had it's a little different there, but still, that sort of gets the mind thinking about how the power level of that card is.
Absolutely. And five holding starts are pretty common. 6 holding starts happen to me twice in Swiss. So, and it's if I straight turn 2 and I have 12 or 13 or 14 gold sitting there, it's a problem. I won't lie. I don't know whether it's a ban-worthy problem. I don't know whether the problem is fixed by removing Wrath or maybe by removing the 2 for 2 legacy holding that lets me have 5 provinces basically. I don't know. I don't get to test decks regularly enough for a wide number of people to be able to predict metagame decisions very well. my past tournament experience, I tend to predict metagame experiences very poorly. So I don't know whether this is something to be reacted to, but it is something that probably should be kept an eye on.
Yeah.
If not reacted to immediately.
I know when Sparks floats around here later, we might want to roll back the tape and show him that because, but he likes Big Oni, so I don't know if he's just going to let that one slide or not.
Yeah, and I mean, Big Oni's still a competitive archetype out of Maw, even if the decision is to ban foothold. I don't think it's as fun because I can't run political actions.
Yeah.
It's great when Onis can run Puppet Theater Coup as honor meta, can run Air's Wrath as really abusive meta, as Rumor's Travel is in my build as honor meta also. And Musgrave's a little more restricted on that. It tends to lose the honor matchup.
Yeah, I can see why. Well, Chris, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Absolutely.
It's great to see you again. Obviously, we'll keep you an eye on the next year's Eternal format, whatever that is.
There needs to be some sort of other strange format for next year for me to create something non-standard and get banned.
Are you excited that the Naga's coming back?
I'm very excited that the Naga are coming back. I can stop playing random mercenary clans like Mantis and making antagonistic story decisions for them because I'm not invested in their future.
I know that.
Sorry, Phoenix, about that last wish thing.
That was funny. Probably not for the Phoenix, but one thing I will tell you is obviously I can't give any hints since I'm on playtest. We have playtested the Naga Stronghold. I could not think of a better design than what was picked for the Naga Stronghold for Onyx. It is very flavorful. It's powerful, but obviously it's not been broken in any of our testings, but it's been very, to me, it's what I think about when I think of the Naga.
See, that's what I'm hoping for. The Naga, when they were previously a playable faction, had such terrible, terrible people. Part of the Shinman Forest is actually a ridiculously broken stronghold, but the people were so bad that being able to run a deck that even at the time, half its holdings were free, was still not good enough to even make it to a cut. No one ever made it to cuts with Naga. So the personalities we've seen that are Naga keyworded for the crossover sets are pretty good, and I'm really enthusiastic for the idea that there's actually been some playtesting into making it an equal in the gaming environment. I don't necessarily. I don't want it to be a dominant force. I don't want this to be Celestial Breeder or Embassy of the Crane or Sheikah Mantis, where it goes in and wins 60% of things and the Naga take over the Empire. If we wanted that to happen, that's what the Dark Naga tried to do. But it would be neat to be able to have it be a legitimate and not have people tell you that it's really sweet that you're trying with the clan. And no, I mean, obviously there's been a lot of effort in. AEG's put a lot of effort into 20 festivals. I'm sure Onyx has had a lot of iterations done.
Yes. Yeah, I think we went through 14 weeks of playtesting.
Yeah, see, that's
and obviously the set wasn't completed at that time. We still had time to work on it. Like, we are in playtesting of the first expansion. We're in the last weeks of that. So they're fixing to close the door for Onyx before they have to send it to printing. So they're working on the last few kinks and trying to get those out. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun to play test them. I dabbled in the Naga a little bit in my early days, so I understand what you're talking about with powerful abilities. We don't really have those. So.
Yeah. Like I have infinite free money, but it's terrible because there's nothing to buy with it. But also for the current stuff, props to the art team direction. The art recently has been amazing across the board, but the Naga stuff that's come out has been excellent. Hecker, Shimmer, reprint, even though that card is terrible, is beautiful. Zenithar, so it's very exciting. I'm looking forward to it. I guess Onyx is like, what, April-ish?
Yeah, they're saying a March, April time frame. Yeah, it's probably going to be in that same time. I think they're going to keep the sets where they are since it's probably easier to get them transported over here at that time period.
Sure.
Hopefully.
Shipping is what it is sometimes.
When you're coming on a slow boat, sometimes it's that way. So.
Right, exactly. But I don't think that it would surprise anybody that has known me in the community to telegraph at this point what I will be playing in late next year's events and the next Gencon.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, no.
It's great visiting with you again, Chris.
Absolutely. You as well.
Enjoy the rest of your con.
Thank you very much.
Are you not going to be playing in the main event?
I am in the main
Oh yeah, that's right. You did win a Kotai. So
I went Nebraska, so I was pre-qualified for this, and I have shenanigans to do there. They're not as good as these shenanigans.
Bigger card pool is his specialty.
I love the big card pools. Thank you very much.
Good luck to you tomorrow.
You as well.
John Bancroft, come to the front of the booth. John Bancroft, please come to the AG booth.